The 21st century has witnessed a surge in populism across the globe, with movements gaining momentum in various countries. These movements are challenging the very foundations of liberal democracies, questioning established norms and political practices. This rise in populism is deeply intertwined with the fallout of the 2008 financial crisis, which left a lasting impact on the global economy. The crisis, triggered by a collapse in the US housing market, sent shockwaves through financial systems worldwide, leading to a domino effect of economic instability. It led to widespread economic hardship, with many losing their homes and jobs, shaking public trust in traditional political institutions and their ability to manage the economy. This essay explores the connection between economic crises and the rise of populism, focusing on the period after 2008, a time marked by significant political and social upheaval. We will examine how economic grievances often morph into cultural anxieties, fueling populist movements that promise to address the concerns of the disaffected. Using the lens of Affective Political Economy, or APE, we will analyze case studies from the US, where populism has reshaped political discourse, the UK, which has seen significant political shifts, and Spain, Brazil, and Chile, where populist movements have gained traction in response to economic and social challenges. By understanding this phenomenon, we aim to shed light on its implications for the future of democracy, exploring how these movements might shape political landscapes in the years to come.
The 2008 financial crisis was a watershed moment. Triggered by the bursting of the US housing bubble, it exposed deep vulnerabilities in the global financial system. The crisis led to a sharp spike in unemployment, particularly in developed economies. Wages stagnated and income inequality soared. Governments scrambled to contain the damage, resorting to bailouts and austerity measures. These measures, while necessary, often exacerbated existing inequalities. The social contract, already strained, began to fray. People felt betrayed by the system, leading to a loss of faith in traditional political institutions and elites. While the 2008 crisis caused real economic pain, the populist response was not solely driven by economic anxieties. Instead, a curious shift occurred. Economic grievances morphed into cultural anxieties. People felt a loss of identity, status, and belonging. Globalization, technological change, and immigration became scapegoats for a wider sense of unease. This shift from economic to cultural grievances is crucial to understanding the rise of populism. It highlights the emotional and psychological dimensions of this phenomenon.
The Affective Political Economy, or AP framework, helps us understand this complex interplay of emotions and economics. APE argues that economic policies and events are not simply rational phenomena. They are filtered through our emotions, values, and identities. The 2008 crisis, for instance, was not just an economic event. It was experienced as a profound psychological shock. It shattered people's sense of security and control, creating an opening for populist leaders who promised to restore order and certainty.
The United States, the epicenter of the 2008 crisis, offers a prime example of this phenomenon. The crisis hit the U.S. economy hard. The American dream, once seemingly within reach for many, started to unravel. This economic dislocation fueled a sense of resentment and anger, which populist politicians like Donald Trump skillfully exploited. Trump tapped into the anxieties of white, working-class Americans who felt left behind by globalization and cultural change. His promise to make America great again resonated with those yearning for a return to a more familiar past. Across the Atlantic, the UK experienced a similar wave of populism, culminating in the 2016 Brexit referendum. The Leave campaign successfully tapped into anxieties about immigration, sovereignty, and a perceived loss of control to the European Union. The economic arguments for and against Brexit were complex. However, the Leave campaign's emotional appeal, centered on taking back control, proved powerful. It resonated with voters who felt ignored by the political establishment and yearned for a sense of agency in a rapidly changing world. Southern Europe, hit hard by the Eurozone crisis, provides another stark example. In Spain, the Indignados movement, born out of the 2011 protests against austerity measures, reflected widespread anger at political corruption and economic inequality. This movement gave rise to the left-wing populist party Podemos, which challenged the established political order. Podemos's success lay in its ability to articulate the frustrations of those left behind by Spain's economic crisis, tapping into a deep well of anger and disillusionment. In Latin America, Brazil's experience sheds further light on the intricate link between economic hardship and the rise of populism. The country's political landscape has undergone significant changes, reflecting broader regional trends. Brazil, once hailed as an economic success story with its booming economy and rising middle class, was hit by a severe recession in the mid-2010s. This economic downturn led to widespread discontent among the population, who felt the brunt of rising unemployment and inflation. The economic crisis was further exacerbated by a massive corruption scandal that implicated the ruling Workers' Party. This scandal, known as Operation Car Wash, revealed deep-seated corruption within the government and major corporations, shaking the public's trust in the political establishment. Amidst this backdrop of economic and political turmoil, Jair Bolsonaro, a far-right populist, emerged as a prominent figure. He campaigned on a platform of law and order, traditional values, and economic liberalism, promising to clean up corruption and restore Brazil's economic stability. Bolsonaro's rhetoric resonated deeply with Brazilians who were disillusioned by the political establishment and yearning for a strong leader to restore order. His promises of cracking down on crime and corruption, along with his appeal to conservative values, garnered him significant support. However, Bolsonaro's presidency has been marked by his divisive rhetoric and controversial policies, which have sparked widespread protests and debates. His tenure has underscored the fragility of democratic institutions in the face of populist challenges, highlighting the ongoing struggle for political stability in Brazil. Chile's experience offers a more nuanced perspective on the interplay of economic grievances, social movements, and political change. In 2011, massive student protests erupted across the country, demanding better and more affordable education. These protests, known as the Chilean Winter, highlighted the deep-seated inequalities in Chilean society, a legacy of its neoliberal economic model. The protests sparked a national debate about inequality and social justice, leading to a process of constitutional reform. While not directly leading to the rise of a populist leader, the Chilean case demonstrates how economic grievances, when channeled through social movements, can lead to significant political and social change.
The rise of populism in the wake of the 2008 financial crisis poses significant challenges to liberal democracy. This period of economic turmoil left many feeling disenfranchised and disillusioned with traditional political systems, creating fertile ground for populist movements to take root. Populist leaders, often skilled at exploiting people's anxieties and frustrations, can erode democratic norms and institutions. They tap into the fears and uncertainties of the populace, offering simple solutions to complex problems which can be very appealing in times of crisis. Their rhetoric, often divisive and polarizing, can undermine social cohesion and trust in democratic processes. By pitting different groups against each other, they create an environment of us versus them, which can lead to increased social fragmentation and conflict. However, the rise of populism is not an inevitable trajectory. It is possible to counteract these forces by addressing the underlying issues that give rise to populist sentiments. Understanding the factors that contribute to its appeal, particularly the interplay of economic grievances and cultural anxieties, is crucial for safeguarding democracy. This means recognizing the legitimate concerns of those who feel left behind by globalization and technological change. Addressing economic inequality, strengthening social safety nets, and promoting inclusive economic growth are essential steps in this direction. Policies that ensure fair wages, access to healthcare, and quality education can help mitigate the economic disparities that fuel populist anger. Equally important is the need to rebuild trust in democratic institutions and foster a sense of shared identity and purpose. This involves transparent governance, accountability, and efforts to engage citizens in the democratic process. The future of democracy in the 21st century hinges on our ability to address the root causes of discontent and channel citizens' energies towards constructive political engagement. By fostering dialogue, promoting civic education, and encouraging active participation, we can create a more resilient and inclusive democratic society.